everyone. Welcome to our Facebook Live event. My name is Michelle Gerard. I work for Sunshine Retirement Living at our beautiful Garden Way community in Eugene, Oregon. Go Ducks! Today we're going to be discussing the blue zone. Where are the blue zones? Why are they so important for health and longevity? And how we incorporate them into our meals in easy ways you can too. A little introduction of myself. I was born and raised in Portland, Oregon. I got my formal training through apprenticeship, which is awesome because I not only got paid, but I also got to work with some amazing chefs. I kind of grew up in the business in hotels and took a short stint, moved to Jackson, Wyoming, got to work at a resort there, learned a lot about wild game, specifically antlered animals. I then moved back to Portland and continued in hotels and worked my way up. I stayed in Portland until about 15 years ago when I moved to Eugene to be the executive chef of a large hotel here in downtown. I finally found my way to Sunshine Retirement here at Garden Way, and it has been the best experience. I've been here a year and a half now, and I have never worked with such a great company. I love working with my co-managers, my team, the residents are amazing, and even the chefs in other communities around the country. And it has such a great work-life balance that I highly recommend working for Sunshine Retirement for starters. It's been amazing. So first off, I'm going to use some notes because I don't want to forget the important things that I really wanted to say. So the blue zones, where are they and what are the foods that they use there? The blue zones are 5 regions in the world where people have long health and longevity, and many of them live up to their 90s. So the 5 areas are Sardinia, Italy. There they eat lots of whole grains, cheese in moderation, and beans. Okinawa, Japan. They love sweet potatoes, tofu, and turmeric. Nicoya, Costa Rica. Corn tortillas, beans, and tropical fruits like papayas. Icaria, Greece. Wild greens, honey, and legumes. Loma Linda, California, USA. They have a plant-based diet. They eat a lot of whole grains and nuts. So blue zones include in whole a lot of beans, whole grains, nuts, fresh fruits and vegetables, as well as healthy fats like olive oil and avocado. So there are some really good health benefits of the blue zone diet. And they're linked to lowering chronic disease, and they have great help with mental clarity and increased energy. That is why here at Sunshine, we've really embraced trying to put these options on our menu for our residents. And it's actually a lot of things I've incorporated at home myself. But here are the 5 health benefits that have been noticed. 1, lowering the risk of type 2 diabetes, because many foods eaten as part of the blue zone diet are rich in fiber, which helps control blood sugar. They lower the risk of heart disease, and that's because blue zone diet focuses on healthy, unsaturated fat rather than saturated fat. It lowers inflammation. Most of the foods eaten have anti-inflammatory properties, and so they offer protection against liver disease, brain disorders, and some types of cancer. It lowers the risk of obesity. Many high fiber foods in the blue zone diet can help with weight management and the prevention of obesity by helping you feel fuller longer. People who also live in the blue zone diets are also physically active just naturally, so that tends to help with weight management as well. It also lessens the chances of metabolic syndrome, characterized by many factors, including high blood pressure, and a large waistline. Metabolic syndrome raises the risk of stroke, heart disease, and other health conditions. Recent research suggests that plant-based diets can lower your risk of metabolic syndrome by half. That's pretty amazing to me. But keep in mind that things like exercising, and they also have a really great, strong sense of community, is also a great help to the longevity of people in these zones. So I today have prepared a recipe and one of my favorite ways of incorporating blue zone foods, but feel free to put questions in the private chat. I will be answering them later. One, I have to say, of the easiest ways and one of my favorite ways of eating blue zone foods is this curry white bean soup that I'm going to make. For starters here, we have 2 peeled and diced carrots, 2 stalks of celery diced, and a small onion peeled and diced. I have a cup of sliced mushrooms, and we're going to put that in a warm medium heat pan with a couple tablespoons of olive oil. Tablespoons. We're going to cook that for about 5 minutes, and you want the onions to become translucent and the vegetables to really start to cook. You'll have the chance to finish them, but you just want to get them going really nicely. Next, after you've cooked that for 5 minutes, we're going to add 4 cloves of garlic, 4 teaspoons of curry, a teaspoon of dried ginger, and a teaspoon of coriander, and an 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. You're going to add that in there and cook that for another minute. And the aromatics that come off of that are so good. It just fills the room. And when you have done that and you've cooked that for a minute, this is what it looks like. All the vegetables in there. It's a beautiful goldeny color with all those spices, and it smells delicious. Now, at this point, we're going to add 14 ounces of diced canned tomatoes, and you're just going to throw them right in there. And that will the liquid in that will kind of deglaze your pan at the same time, which is nice. You can get all that garlic and spices that may have started to stick to the bottom of the pan. That'll take that right off. Then we're going to add in 4 cups of vegetable broth, and you can add more or less depending on your taste. This is how I prefer it. So we're going to add that in there. Now that we're going to want to bring to a boil, and we're really going to let it then turn it down a little bit and let it simmer very actively for about 20 minutes. And the next step, while that's starting to boil, is we're going to take, it's 3 14-ounces cans of beans, and you can do any kind. I prefer white beans. When you drain them out, it's actually about 9 ounces a can. But to get this, I actually cooked these from scratch beforehand, and it's 2.5 cups of dry to make the proper amount. So we're going to take these beans and we are going to just mash half. That's going to help thicken our soup and give us some different textures in there. Mash, 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 mash. And this is one of those recipes I always tell people is completely adaptable. You can leave spices out. You don't like curry, do it with something else. And then you're just going to put those right in there, and you're going to want to, like I said, cook this and let this simmer for 20 minutes. But I went ahead and got us started. So while this is busy simmering, I wanted to talk about why I feel like this is such an important option and way of eating. For one thing, I do it myself. It does make me feel better, not strictly, but we have this one particular couple in our community who he was really sick and he couldn't walk very well. They never came down to meals, and they started to adapt this. Now, they're not completely vegetarian, but they did make a lot of changes, and it has gotten to the point now where they're down for every meal. They do all kinds of activities. They're coming to my cooking demos, which you know I love, and it just is so nice to see because they are such sweet people. Well, this is simmering, and it looks like this at this point. And it has tons of delicious smells coming off of it. Now we have to just finish the soup. So we're going to add 1/2 cup of coconut milk and stir that in. And we're going to add 2 cups of chopped spinach. And you can leave it whole. I like to chop mine. And if you don't want to add spinach and you want to add kale, you could add kale. You could add arugula if you like that pepperiness. Or you could add chopped kale or baby kale. Whatever you like. That's what I mean by it's completely versatile. And then we're going to add some fresh flat leaf parsley. It adds about 1/2 cup. It adds a nice fresh taste to your food in something like this. And it's just gorgeous. Then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add a tablespoon of lime juice, which is about half. And again, you can add more or less, and it depends on the juiciness of your lime. Oh my goodness. And then when it's all said and done, it looks like this. And you eat this with a piece of crusty party bread made of whole grains, and you have a super satisfying meal. Wipe our edge, a little parsley, fresh color. And look at that. And it's gorgeous and it's delicious. Residents love it. I'm just going to move this, put a lid on this to keep that warm. So now, if anybody has any questions, I would love to answer it. So the first question is, what's the easiest Blue Zone dish to try at home? Well, to put it simply, oatmeal with blueberries, sweetened with honey. It's super simple, and it's probably what a lot of people eat already. The next question is, my dad likes sauce on everything. How can I make a healthy sauce? Well, you can always make sauce out of vegetables. I've done all kinds of sauces with vegetables. Everybody knows about marinara. That's a great sauce. But if you're trying to make something that comes across as creamy, you can always take white beans, for example, add some of the liquid you cooked in with it, add a little veggie stock, put it in the blender, and you can get it the consistency of sauce, and it makes a great sauce. You can put it on chicken after you season it with however you want it to taste, or you can put it on pasta. Take a whole grain, high protein pasta and add a bean sauce on it, add some extra veggies, lots of mushrooms. That's the way I like it. And it's a very satisfying and saucy food. My mom is super picky. How do I get her to eat healthy like this? Well, you got to start simple. Get her to start eating oatmeal if she's not eating, and switch her from sugar to honey. If you simply, in your cooking, start her with, when she's eating something that she might use butter to cook in, start cooking in some olive oil. That's a real easy way. You can also just start with soups and change ingredient to be less meat or less dairy products and adjust it little by little. And I can even get my husband to eat that. My dad is a big meat eater. How do I disguise things to taste like meat? Well, this is a little harder one. I think you can do it a little more easily. There's a lot of things you can do with tofu, smoked tofu. There is tempeh. There's some really good tempeh product that you can incorporate in things. And if you start with things like you're going to do eggs and bacon, well, instead of doing bacon, try getting a scramble with some vegetables and chop up some tempeh in there and see, and you can start that way. Start small, get a little bit going. All right, well, that's all I have for today. I appreciate you all joining me, and I hope I enlightened you a little bit on some Blue Zone foods.
Our mission is to provide the seniors in our community with a safe and happy place to call home. Our staff is incredible. They're knowledgeable and very passionate about what they do. They love what they do.
If you want a question answered or help, they're right there. Housekeepers, maintenance, the servers, everyone.
The staff is so kind and so uplifting. They really are.
Our calendar is always filled with activities that engage our residents intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, physically, socially.
You really get to know the other residents. That's the thing I like the best.
Really enables my mom to live a very independent life. We feel very safe with her being here. I just feel really comfortable in knowing that she's so well cared for here.
I am very happy here. It's a wonderful place to live.